Today is Tuesday, July the 9th, 2013 at Vincent Corporation in Tampa, Florida. Today we have a sample that was sent to us by, let's see, John Kinder, Death's Door Spirits. It's distiller's grain. Here's a sample of the material as received. We have the remainder of a pail here. We're going to be running it in our model CP4 screw press. As is the case with most of our machines, of course, you've got the motor and gearbox driving the screw, which you can see here in that space between the motor and gearbox. That space is there so that if that black plastic piece, the shaft seal, leaks, the liquid falls onto the ground instead of going back into the gearbox where it can do some damage. You have the screw turning in the inside of the inlet hopper, and that's forcing the material into the screen section here. The idea is that the liquid comes out through this screen, drains out through the drain in the back of the drain pan, and the solids are forced out past this discharge cone. The amount of pressure on that cone is regulated by the amount of pressure on this air cylinder. In this case, we have 30 psi. I don't know if it'll focus on that, but there you go. Yep, 30 psi. And this press has a natural screw speed of 27 RPM, but we're running it at 45 Hertz to put us somewhere in that 20 to 21 RPM range. So next we'll start feeding the material into the inlet hopper and see how we do. We've got some baggies ready for pressed liquor and pressed cake as well. Pressed liquor is going to be collected in this pail, and pressed cake in the purple tub. I squeezed some of this by hand. It did not want to extrude through my fingers, and we got a decent amount of liquid out, so I expect that the press ought to be able to take the 30 psi. Here you can see there's not a whole lot of free liquid in this, but the freer liquid in this case starts coming out at the beginning of the screen, and you see what happens as the screw gets packed. It starts to come out further and further towards the end. Usually, you see water leaking past the cone initially, and for sure that's what we have. But as soon as that area fills with press cake, then that stops, and you have good solids. Yeah, it's working very nicely. Sometimes in this CP4, material can bridge in the hopper, but that's because it has to neck down so far to get to the 4-inch diameter screw. Generally, the best way to combat that is to leave a little part of the screw visible at all times, and then it generally won't want to bridge. Larger screw presses don't have the same tendency to bridge because the opening size and the screw size are better matched to each other. There's always going to be a little bit of solids coming out through the screen, but of course your vast majority is coming out here as it should. Still half the sample left, roughly. This is working extremely well. We could put more pressure on this material and probably get it drier but I'm not sure what your production sized unit would be. Did you get any additional liquid out when you squeezed it?
Barely.
Okay, just maybe a film between your fingers. That's good. We could probably eliminate that as well, but it's harder to duplicate the results with a large machine. So if we use maximum pressure here, then we might do something to this that you cannot replicate in a larger unit. But by holding it down to 30 psi, it assures that you can repeat this success with larger machines. I'm going to see if I can film with one hand and let some press cake fall into this baggie with the other. Yep, no problem. It certainly feels drier to the touch as it's falling. I think we've reached a good steady state flow. The difference is probably not that visible. This is the as received, and that's the press cake. I don't think that there's a tremendous visible difference, but of course we'll put it in the oven and get our results. And in a moment here, I'm going to collect some pressed liquor. I'll collect it from the drain, so it'll be a nice composite of what's coming out from everywhere on the screen. Enough press liquor for our trials. Definitely cloudy, but it's to be expected. But the material is running really nicely. Every revolution of the screw is pushing out an equivalent amount of press cake. Nice pile of fluffy press cake. I'll repeat the test that Andrew did. I'll take some of this in my hand and squeeze it. Oh wow. Yeah, I'm not even really getting a film of liquid between my fingers.
Not much at all, is there?
Yeah, it's good. It stays together after you've squeezed it, but with hardly any force at all, it breaks back apart. So good fluffy press cake. Looking really, really nice. So I think we're finished. We'll report back our results.